Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
When you are in government, you don't see nothing wrong with whatever is happening. The moment you are out there, everything is wrong.
You can't even see many women now, and when they're there, they're not even really making a mark, and then they have an NYSC problem and this and that.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
Really disastrous for a president
to even say
be unaware of the chief
It's
justice.
a ploy. It could be a strategy.
That strategy was very terrible strategy. Because the buck stops at your table.
Whether it's that we don't look after our cities, and quite frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place.
When you are the only one feeding the people with this news, and there is nobody countering them, it becomes, the news. Welcome to The Advocates, the program that never lets you settle into your comfort zone. Our menu for today includes an advocacy for legalizing of marijuana by fresh but seasoned advocates. Emeka, I know his name sounds like a Kene, but you agree he looks nothing like a Kene, which has had enough of jungle justice and call out our police and justice system. Chuka takes a militant approach to the Mother's Day celebration, essentially saying, put up or shut up. Ireti takes the Mother's Day challenge even further and asks why non-biological mothers shouldn't have their say on Mother's Day. Anyway, we'll wait to hear. My advocacy seems positively tame by comparison. I ask, why can't 1 + 1 be 3 or 4 when it comes to legal interpretation? So sit back and strap up as we prepare to take you out of your comfort zone. You're watching The Advocate on Plus TV Africa. It's not always united we stand. Lord Denny, Master of the Rose, an English law lord of blessed memory, made a first class in mathematics, but did not in law. When he was asked why, he said, 1 + 1 is 2. As it is to a professor of mathematics, so it is to a layman on the street. But in any legal issues, there are no precise answer, even among the learned. And that's why in every legal issue, there are usually 3 sides to the interpretation. Your side, my side, and the truth. The claimant's side, the side of the defendant, and the final side of the judge. Most often, it is disheartening and heartbreaking, to say the least, an overt manifestation of shallow knowledge of how the law works, to see or hear people, even some lawyers inclusive, insult others of their colleagues for making legal submissions that are not favorable to their reasoning. Law, like English language, is not an instrument of mathematical precision. You might not agree with me, though.
So
that was really weird.
Yeah. No, but what are you really saying?
What are you saying? That's what I want to ask.
You see...
That anything can happen.
Really.
So you can go into court and come out a loser.
Yeah, exactly.
When
what usually happens
you have it all.
In Nigeria these days, everybody is a lawyer, most especially when constitutional issues are raised. And so if you disagree with anybody, depending on their political leaning, sometimes you hear lawyers call you names.
Okay.
Oh, no, why will you be thinking that way? That's why, like I said, there are 3 sides to every story. You hear this side, you hear the other side. At the end of the day, let the court interpret. And that's why we say, like I always say here, the law is what the court says it is. And so, if you hear me interpret a legal position from my perspective, don't blame me. That's the way I'm saying it. You interpret it the way you see it. And until a court makes a pronouncement on it, even some cases, some people disagree with the court's interpretation. And so for me, really, it's not necessarily about the courts. It is about our political leaning and interpretations we give to constitutional issues in Nigeria. It's become so heated that in every issue you hear, take the Kogi election, for example, if you remember when the candidate died just before the final announcement. Right. There was various interpretations by lawyers. It got to a point that people had to insult others for not knowing their interpretation of the position.
Isn't that what, by imbibing a particular law, a part of the Constitution, you are then supposed to interpret it and apply it to, I don't know, whatever side you're on, the defendant, the claimant, or whatever. Isn't that what you're supposed to do anyway? That's what I don't understand. Because yes, the Constitution is written there. The Constitution is very clear on certain things. But however, one thing we do know that we have in Nigeria, in my opinion, is that we have a Constitution that's actually against the people. So given that you in lawyers like yourself and stuff, you're representing the ordinary person. Do you understand? I would like you to be able to say, you know what, this part of the Constitution may say this, but it favors my client in this way. Does that make sense?
Partly, what I'm saying is, even in rule of interpretation in law, unlike mathematics,
Yeah, 1
when
plus
you
1
say 1
equals 2.
plus 1 in Lagos is 2, 1 plus 1 in London is 2, 1 plus 1 in America is 2. But in rules of interpretation in law, statute of interpretations, there's what we call literal rule. If the words are clear and ambiguous, let the literal meaning apply. There's what we call the golden rule. There's what we call the mischief rule. What's the mischief intended, this law intended to cure? There's other various interpretations. So it depends on the interpretation that that person is applying to it. And so if he applies his interpretation to favor his client, don't beef him.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That
Don't
I
beef him.
expect my lawyer to be able to do that.
Exactly. So
And then
why
the
should
other lawyer
Chuka
will
be
do
angry?
something else.
Why should Chuka now be angry that I'm arguing to defend you?
Right, and you're talking about, when you say in this case, the other lawyer, the other side.
Yes.
But I think, again, I think it boils down to, I think you mentioned it earlier, that the way we are as a people. One of the things that I find with a lot of Nigerian lawyers is they regurgitate what they learnt in law school rather than present it.
That's
Most of them-
fallacious. That's fallacious.
Fallacious or not, that's, like I said, what I've often see is a regurgitation. But you don't just see that regurgitation in the courts. You see it every single day. You've seen it in Chuka's topic a couple of episodes ago, where you said people continue to quote, almost like they don't have a mind of their own. It's a regurgitation.
But no, I want to come in there.
No, I'm
That's
even
why
saying
you need
about our
to
people.
quote.
No, what
Yeah,
I'm saying
no,
is,
but I
what you're
actually-
saying is that it applies to us as a people the way we
But I
get.
want to disagree with that, because I think the problem we have in Nigeria is that actually I think people know the law so well that they use it to, fit whatever situation they want it to fit. I mean, they use it to their advantage. So, for instance, there are cases that you would think would be black and white, but because they know the loopholes and which way to go with that law, they know how to interpret it in such a way that they get the judgment they want to get.
Keyword should be, but they know the loophole.
Yes, they
That
know
means
the-
it is not certain.
No.
The majority of
That's it.
people know the law.
So don't
though.
blame them when they exploit that loophole.
You can't. I mean, if the loophole is there, the loophole is there. And I will never blame anyone for exploiting a loophole.
But, it's interesting hearing the discussions, but I think in terms of every interpretation, legal statutes, and what lawyers do is set within within a context. And you were right, 1 plus 1 will not be, may not
5,
be
60.
Yeah, it could change depending on the country, and I think that's the most important thing is the context under which laws are applied. Because as someone said, the concept of slavery at some point was legal.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean? But the other notion of, does it appear to be justice? Does it appear to be fair? And I think that's why people, everybody wants to be a lawyer and bring out their own interpretation, because when they look at it, they say, it doesn't necessarily appear to be, at least to the majority of the people, common people who are looking at the interpretation of decided cases and say, yes, you got off on a technicality. I mean, you go back to 19 OJ and saying,
exactly.
I agree with you, but my point here is
Why should
basically what
people
I'm
get
saying. Let's
upset?
agree to disagree.
True.
Don't get upset because this man is saying it from his own point of interpretation. It must not necessarily suit your
What
whims
your-
and
yes,
caprices.
it must not necessarily
And
be
so
your side, yes.
accommodate his, no matter how narrow his mind is, no matter how politically inclined he is, accommodate him. You also put out your point of view.
Yeah.
And then when we do that, we can coexist happily without necessarily being at each other's throats. But when you hear some people discuss and then you now say, okay, no, let me contribute mine. You say, no, you are wrong. You are very wrong. I didn't think you'd be this narrow, you'd be this shallow. And what kind of useless and shallow reasoning? It's my reasoning. Allowed me to be shallow. And so that's what I'm saying. Law, it's not like mathematics. And so in interpreting, statutes, allow everybody to interpret it the way they see it. Until the court says, oh, from now on, this
court
is
is
the
the
way it
final
should be.
decider.
Yes. And then we can say,
And,
well,
and then, of
And
course, there are
it's-
many courts. So when you don't like the High
Exactly.
Court, you move
Exactly.
to... And I always say that Supreme Court idea, I just don't like it at all. How can you end the thing like...
finality.
You know, something
wait,
like
wait,
that.
you want it to go on forever?
like we say,
Otherwise it keeps
like
going.
we say, there must be
amazing. Yes.
an end to
No, it has to be an end.
But going back to what it was Emeka, you mentioned something about fairness and the law. I mean, one thing that I've always known about the law is that the law deals with evidence, not with truth, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
So
and that's why the law is different from justice.
justice, exactly, exactly. Because justice isn't always fair.
And then justice also, justice to
justice
you
should be
might
fair.
not be
Justice-
Justice,
Yeah.
no,
But
but
law is
justice
not
should be
always
fair.
fair.
I don't think, remember, we have
Exactly,
seen so many
otherwise we're giving
miscarriage of
ourselves
justice, or we've seen so many
Yeah,
cases
mess
where
people
we
up.
think, you know, everybody,
Like-
the
like-
public opinion is like on
It
this
should be
side,
this
and then
way.
the judge like,
There's nothing like absolute justice.
yes, that's right.
And so what justice to you might not be justice to me.
Yes.
And so that's why some people will say, well, I know the court of law, not the court of justice. You know, you can tell me of the court of law and not the court of justice because I might get there and not get justice. And I agree with you
Yeah.
that.
But Liborous, what fueled this? Because I mean, it seems like you and your fellow lawyers, because this discussion
not
really,
me,
I don't
not
feel like it
lawyers.
really
And it
brings
brings
us
up-
in.
yeah.
So
It's
there
more
must have been
about
something
you
going
experienced
on.
something.
That's why I took it to the streets. What fair this is, you know, this that like I said earlier on, everybody is a lawyer now. Once the news broke, all kinds of interpretation, and then the one that annoys me the most is the insult. Like you were talking last week, you talked about social media etiquette. You know, so it is part of that's your social media etiquette. I say, look, let's agree to disagree.
Oh, okay.
So we can disagree. And we can agree to agree and agree to disagree. That way we can coexist peacefully without having...
But is your message still to lawyers?
Not just lawyers. I'm talking about that. She asked me
I'm
what
only teasing.
where fair is. Well, like I said, sometimes it's okay to agree to disagree. Emeka makes the case for weed after the break.
Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
When you are in government, you don't see nothing wrong with whatever is happening. The moment
Self-interest.
you are out there, everything is wrong.
You can't even see
Yes.
many women now, and when they're there, they're not even really making a mark, and then they have an NYSC problem and this and that.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
Really?
Disastrous for a president
To even say
be
he's unaware.
unaware of the chief
It's a
justice.
ploy. It could be a strategy.
That strategy was
It's a
very
Backfired.
terrible strategy because the buck stops at your table.
Whether it's that we don't look after our cities, and quite frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place.
When you are the only one feeding the people with this news and there is nobody countering them, it becomes, you know, the news.